Welcome to the PhoneArena video review of the Motorola DROID PRO. The DROID PRO is another Android 2.2 device offered by Verizon Wireless, but as you can see, it has a new form factor for the platform. This is the first time we've seen a portrait QWERTY keyboard. It's very much styled like a BlackBerry, but at the same time isn't. It's narrow and tall, whereas BlackBerries tend to be a little bit fatter. The screen also takes up most of the front instead of the keyboard. It does have a nice 3.1-inch capacitive display, but it's not high resolution like the DROID 2 or the DROID X. The star of the show here is supposed to be the keyboard. As you can see, it's got some flair to it, like we've seen with the BlackBerry Bold and Style. We're pretty much in love with that keyboard. However, we don't have the same feelings for the DROID Pro. It's a capable keyboard, but it does have some things that could be better about it. First off, because of the form factor, it's cramped. There's no rooms to the side and to the bottom, which means at times, as you're reaching down for the bottom row, or trying to reach these keys on the end, your finger doesn't hit the right area. We saw this side issue with the BlackBerry Style, but it's much more pronounced with the DROID Pro, especially because of this bottom edge. The keys also just don't feel as good. They're a little bit plasticky and they're a little bit hard. Another thing we're not crazy about is the layout of the alternative keys. We much prefer the keypad with numbers to be here, sort of like a regular keypad, as opposed to spread out across the top like you'd find on an actual keyboard. It's not as big of a deal though, because you can't dial from these keys like you can with the BlackBerry. You can do a Google search, but it doesn't bring up the dial pad automatically. Beyond that, the Motorola DROID Pro offers a relatively stock Android experience with the Motorola Blur interface on top of it. This is the so-called Ninja Blur that we first saw in the DROID X. It doesn't offer much different than stock Android, but there are some nice custom Motorola widgets and the addition of a few home pages. There's no killer feature with this, however, so we'd rather Motorola just left Android alone and have it be so that when updates come out, they can come out quicker. Of course, the DROID Pro isn't quite your standard Android device because it has such a heavy business lean towards it. Some of the nice features include a VPN client, as well as an upcoming feature that lets the user remotely access and wipe both the phone and the SD card. It also ships with QuickOffice, and this time the full version. This allows users to view and edit Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files, as well as has the quick PDF feature for viewing. These are all features that you can pretty much get on any Android device if you try, but it's nice that this one ships with it. It's also a global phone, allowing for 3G access across the world. The DROID Pro has a very good battery. It's rated for 7 hours of talk time, and in theory, this can get a user through a couple days of use without charging. We still recommend charging nightly because, especially with business users, you're typically on the phone quite a lot, as well as receiving a lot of email. As you can see, the form factor is pretty straightforward. On the left side of the phone here we have the volume rocker and the micro SD charging port. This little thing you see around here will light up white when it's charging, which is kind of a nice touch. At the top is the power button, as well as a 3.5mm headset jack. On the right hand side is a programmable key, much like a convenience key we find on the BlackBerries. The back of the phone is very nondescript. You do have a nice stylized design. There's also a single speaker down at the bottom and a 5-megapixel camera with dual LED flash. The camera is extremely disappointing, taking relatively poor pictures throughout the gamut. In perfect lighting conditions, things were acceptable. However, beyond that, images were grainy, details were bad, and colors were oversaturated. Still, this is a business device, not a pleasure one, so we aren't going to knock it too hard. Speaking of pleasure, there are some nice features that the DROID Pro offers. It does have DLNA support, so it'll connect with other devices on your network to stream media content. Like we said, it's got the 5-megapixel camera, which also has the capability of recording in DVD quality. Again, we had mixed results with that. All your other standard features are on here, such as the Amazon MP3 store and a music player. It played most of our video files that we use for testing, although it did choke up on MPEG-4 and some higher resolution ones. The Droid Pro would be a suitable alternative to bringing an iPod with you if you have a big enough memory card. But you have to factor in that it's going to suck some battery life. Overall, we like the Droid Pro. It's a great business device. It offers a great new form factor for Android that we hope to see more and better versions of. It'll help ease the transition for the BlackBerry users that just need to have their keyboard down at the bottom and that can't use the on-screen keyboard. It offers good browsing performance, and the quadrant scores were through the roof at nearly 1600. The battery life is good, and call quality is a bit below average but still acceptable. All in all, this is a good first start for a business Android device. We're sure we'll see better devices down the road, but it's a good starting point.